SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, the end in sight. Friendship, favoritism and facilitation are the key words as Sri Lanka vaccination drive goes full speed ahead.
Our neighbours are our first priority, and even within neighbours, Sri Lanka occupies a very, very special place.
No favoritism. Those who qualify to get this vaccine will be given.
Cordial relationships between India and Sri Lanka has enabled us to start ahead of schedule.
Don't forget, health officials says objective of vaccination is to reduce fatalities, but public must not forego safety. Ports Authority Chairman welcomes ECT work to rule as a positive.
The trade union is trying to work according to the rule, and that's very good. And if it is what we are requiring, and we have not been doing this for last 72 years in this country.
All that and much more coming up on First at 9, this Friday the 29th of January 2021.
Buy a 2-litre Coke and get a glass free.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I'm Dhamike Kanaka. Now, Sri Lanka's vaccination drive kicked off today with 5,268 of the country's frontline health workers being the first candidates to get the much-awaited jab. A total of 500,000 doses were received from India yesterday and will continue to provide protection where needed most in order to shore up the country's efforts to contain the COVID-19 virus effectively and prevent a larger crisis. At the commencement of the vaccination program, Chief Presidential Advisor Lalit Veeratunga insisted that the vaccination program will be conducted impartially, adding that only those who qualify for the vaccine will receive it.
Upon a request made by President Gotabaya Rajapaksa from the Government of India, Sri Lanka received its first consignment of the Oxford AstraZeneca-developed COVID-19 vaccine manufactured by the Indian Institute of Serum. Sri Lanka received 500,000 doses of the vaccine under the Indian initiative Vaccine Maitri, which provides the vaccine free of charge to neighbouring countries. The vaccination program commenced at the Infectious Diseases Hospital under the auspices of State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle and the Indian High Commissioner to Sri Lanka, Gopal Bagle.
We have been investing a lot of public funds to look after COVID patients in Sri Lanka. We have spent nearly 110 billion rupees on the whole operation so far. And then for PCR alone, we have been spending about 100 million a day, Excellency. All these things shows the importance of the public health action in Sri Lanka towards the people of this country. I hope that with the assistance of India, we'll be able to declare that we are one of the first countries in the world to cover the whole population with vaccines and say that we are one of the safest countries in the world in time to come.
Assigning this responsibility to a separate minister indicated the seriousness with which the government of Sri Lanka had taken steps to counter this disease and was looking for options like a vaccine. In the matters of such diseases, international cooperation is an imperative. And no country, no matter how strong its resources, how capable its scientific and medical force, no country could fight this disease on its own. So the international cooperation is the key to fighting this pandemic the world over. Our neighbours are our first priority. And even within neighbours, Sri Lanka occupies a very, very special place in the hearts of India, in the hearts of Indians. Also, we hope that this vaccine will not only save many more lives, but help the economy open fully. and it will help instill confidence in the people that this disease is going to be over soon, and the normalcy, the normal life as we have known it before the onset of COVID is right around the corner. I was very moved to see that Honorable President himself was at the airport to receive the consignment. It speaks volumes about not only his priority for the people's health, but also the high significance that his government and his leadership attaches to relations with India. We are very deeply honored.
This is only the beginning. I am sure there will be a day very soon that all of us will be able to say that our population is fully vaccinated and that we have won this war against this unseen enemy. Today we have come a long way with certain successes, but sometimes failures as well. When the enemy is not defined, you can have failures. But I always take strength that Sri Lanka's record of human development, well-being of the people, education, it has stood tall in the whole world, particularly in the developing world. Yesterday we saw the rankings where Sri Lanka is placed 10th, but there was a time when we were just in the second place. That is when we had almost zero numbers. Today we start another campaign. By the end of the year, we should be able to vaccinate at least 65% of the population. The way the parameters have been worked, I want to assure you, it has been worked out on certain criteria. No favoritism. It's for those who qualify to get this vaccine that the vaccine will be given, and that we will strictly adhere to.
Initially, we had planned to commence vaccination towards the mid-February or early March, but because of the cordial relationships between India and Sri Lanka has enabled us to start ahead of schedule. We are proud we are controlling COVID while opening the country gradually, and this has been possible because of the political commitment. The political commitment was demonstrated yesterday because the head of state himself went to the airport to receive the donation.
The first dose of the vaccine was then administered to the senior consultant physician at the Infectious Diseases Hospital, Dr. Ananda Vijay Vikrama. The second jab was given to the chief nursing officer at the hospital, Geethani Udugam Korala. The staff of IDH Hospital, who have been playing a major role in the fight against COVID-19 since the first detection of the virus in the country, were also vaccinated. Minister of Health Pavitra Vanyarache, who is currently being treated at the intensive care unit of the hospital after contracting the virus, sent a congratulatory message on the commencement of the inoculation program. In a statement, the minister says that she is dedicated to vaccinate the entire population and eradicate the virus from Sri Lanka. The vaccine was then administered to the frontline health workers of the security forces. The army personnel received their jabs at the army hospital in Colombo. The event was graced by Commander of the Army and Head of the National Operations Centre for Prevention of COVID-19, General Shavendra Silva. The frontline workers of the Air Force were then administered with the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine, with Director of Health Services of the Sri Lanka Air Force, Air Vice Marshal Lalit Jayavira, receiving the first dose. Sri Lanka Navy, who played a significant role in controlling the first wave of the virus, too received their jabs of the vaccine today. They were vaccinated at the Valisara Naval Base, which happened to be the nexus of the biggest cluster during the first wave. Meanwhile, police media spokesperson DIG Ajit Rohana states that the vaccination of police officers will begin on Sunday the 31st at the police hospital. He added that another program to vaccinate police officers will be implemented on the 2nd of February at the police hospital located in the area of Kundasale in Kandy. Meanwhile, further inoculation of health workers was conducted at several other hospitals in the Western Province. Medical staff of the National Hospital received their first dose of the vaccine.
We are giving it in 4 places since we have a very large staff, and our plan is to give vaccination for all the staff within few days, and also not only the staff, even the supportive staff like security and cleaning staffs, and everybody who is attached to the hospital will be given. We hope to cover this whole staff within 3 days. Definitely that will help us to uplift our services. So I think it's a very good gesture by the government to identify to give this vaccine first to the health staff.
Health staff at the Lady Ridgeway Children's Hospital in Boralla too were vaccinated today. The Colombo South Teaching Hospital in Kalubowila is also among the hospitals which administered the first doses of the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine today. The health staff of the Colombo East Teaching Hospital, Colombo North Teaching Hospital and the Homagama Base Hospital were also inoculated. In addition, the vaccination of medical staff members at hospitals outside the Western Province also commenced today. The vaccination program covering the entire island is scheduled to begin tomorrow. The Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine stands out among other vaccines developed in the world against COVID-19. Clinical trials have proved the efficacy of the vaccine to be between 62 to 90%, and it does not require extremely cold temperatures for storage, carrying the ability to be stored in temperatures ranging from 2 to 8 degrees Celsius. It is also the vaccine with the least side effects reported, and so far none of the Sri Lankans vaccinated today have reported experiencing any side effects. A person must receive 2 doses of the vaccine, and the number of doses currently available facilitates the vaccination of 250,000 people. In the meantime, we spoke to Sri Lankan ambassador in China, Dr. Palitha Kohana, who revealed that talks to obtain China-developed vaccines are underway.
I've been talking to China Farm and China Vac for the last 3 weeks. We have had intense discussions on how the procedures for making the vaccine available for Sri Lanka. I've also spoken to the Foreign Ministry about it because judged that it will be useful to have some political encouragement as well to obtain the vaccine. I think at this stage 300,000 doses have been mentioned, but that's only an initial offer. My understanding is that it will be a donation. Our president wrote to the president of China seeking China's assistance with the vaccines, and I think China's response has been very favorable, very positive. China provided mid-offer about a week ago, so I suppose now it's has to process the offer and ensure that the vaccine is made available locally.
Pay just 500,000 rupees to reserve your unit today. Mulberry Residence.
Deputy Director General of Health Services Dr. Hemant Herath meanwhile highlights that the objective of administering the vaccine is to protect lives and it is too early to judge the length of the immunity the jab provides. While allaying any doubts the public may harbour on volunteering for the vaccine, Dr. Herath, however, cautioned against people doing away with the health and safety guidelines which they practice all this while.
රෝගය නිසා මිය යාමට ඉඩකට ඇති පුද්ගලයින්ට මිය යාමේ ඉඩකඩ අවම කිරීමේ හැකියාවක් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. ඒ වගේම තමයි මේ එන්නත යම් පුද්ගලයෙකුට දරුණු රෝග ලක්ෂණ පහළ කරන පුද්ගලයෙකුට ඒ තත්ත්වය මගහැරලා සමහර විට සාමාන්‍ය රෝග ලක්ෂණ පමණක් පහළ වීමේ තත්ත්වයකට ගේන්න පුළුවන්. එම නිසා වැදගත්ම පණිවුඩය තමයි මේ එන්නත භාවිතය හරහා අපි ජීවිත ආරක්ෂා කිරීමත් ඒ වගේම දැඩි ලෙස රෝගාතුර වීමෙන් ජනතාව ආරක්ෂා කිරීමත් තමා දැනට තියෙන දත්ත අනුව අපිට පෙනී යන්නේ. අපි දන්නේ නැහැ මේ මොහොත වෙනකොට මොකද මේ එන්නත හදලා තවම අවුරුද්දක්වත් නැහැ. ඒ තත්ත්වයේ යටතේ අපිට මේ ප්‍රතිශක්තිය කොච්චර කාලයක් පවතීද කියන එක පැහැදිලිව කියන්න බෑ. නමුත් දැනට පවතින තත්ත්වය අනුව අවමාශයෙන් අවුරුද්දක්වත් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. නමුත් ඊට වැඩියෙන් තියෙනවා නම් තමයි අපි කියන්නේ හොඳයි කියලා. ඒ නිසාම මේ එන්නත්ෙන් ලබා ගැනීමෙන් අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ආරක්ෂාව සහතික කිරීම සඳහා අපිට මේ දක්වා කරගෙන ගිය සෞඛ්‍ය පුරුදු එකක්වත් අපිට මේ එන්නත ලබා දීමෙන් පමණින් අපිට නවත්තන්න බෑ. ඒ නිසා අපිට මේ සෞඛ්‍ය පුරුදු ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම පිළිපැදීම අවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. අපි සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මේ වගේ එන්නත දීමෙන් පසු ශරීරයේ යම් ප්‍රමාණයකට ප්‍රතිශක්තියක් ගොඩනැගුණාට පසුව ඒක වැඩි කර දීම සඳහා තමයි දෙවැනි එන්නත භාවිතා කරන්නේ. සාමාන්‍යයෙන් මාසයක පමණ කාල සීමාවක් ඇතුළත එතකොට සති 3ත් සති 5ත් අතර කාල සීමාව වෙන්න පුළුවන්. මේ කාල සීමාවන් ඇතුළත මේ එන්නතම එක එක මධ්‍යස්ථාන වලින් නිකුත් කරනවා. ඒ එන්නතේ තියෙන ප්‍රොඩක්ට් ලීෆ්ලට් එක අනුව අපි ඒක තීරණය කරනවා කොයි වෙලාවෙද ඒක ගන්න කියලා. එහිදී ඒ කියන කාල සීමාව පහුණු ගමන් අපි දෙවෙනි එන්නත ලබා ගන්න ඕන. ඒ හරහා තමා ප්‍රතිශක්තිකරණ ක්‍රියාවලිය උත්සන්න වෙලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය අපි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන ආරක්ෂාව ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන් වන්නේ. පළවෙනි එන්නත ලබා ගැනීමෙන් පසු නියමිත දිනයට පැමිණ දෙවෙනි එන්නතත් ලබා ගැනීම අත්‍යවශ්‍ය වෙනවා. ඕනෑම එන්නතක් විඳපුවාම මේ ශරීරයට මේ පිටින් බාහිර ද්‍රව්‍ය ඇතුළු කරාම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම සුළු වශයෙන් හෝ පොඩි අපහසුතාවයන් එනවා. අපි බෙහෙත් විඳපුවාම පොඩ්ඩක් හරි උණ ගත්තා, ඇඟපත රිදුනා, ඒ වගේ පොඩි දේවල් එනවා. මේ එන්නත නිසාත් එවැනි දෙයක් එන්න පුළුවන්. ඊට වඩා එහාට ගියාම සමහර පුද්ගලයන්ට කොහොමත් මේ එන්නත් වෙන්න පුළුවන් වෙන බාහිර දේවල් වලට අසාත්මිකතා තියෙන. එවැනි පුද්ගලයෙකුට සමහරට අපිට තා සුළු වශයෙන් එන්නා වූ කැසීමක් හෝ ඒ වගේ සුළු අසාත්මිකතාවයකින් පටන්ගෙන ශරීරය පුලා පළුදෑම හෝ සමහර විට අපි කියන හුස්ම ගැනීම අපහසු වෙලා මරණයෙන් කෙලවර වීමට වෙන්න පුළුවන් අර ඇනෆිලැක්සිස් ෂොක් එක දක්වා ඊටාම කලාතුරකින් එන්න පුළුවන් දේවල්. ඉතින් මේ එන්නතේ එවැනි තත්වයක් වාර්තා වුණ බවට අපිට එහෙම තවම තොරතුරු ලැබිලා නැහැ. නමුත් මේක අනෙක් එන්නත්වල නම් අපි මිලියන ගාණක් බෙහෙත් විදලා අපිට ඒකේ ආරක්ෂාව තහවුරු වෙලා තියෙනවා. අපිට මේ එන්නතත් ඒ ආකාරයෙන්ම අපිට ජනතාවට දීමට තරම් ආරක්ෂාදායී බවට පැහැදිලි නිසා තමයි අපි ඒක දෙන්නේ. නමුත් අපිට මොනම ආකාරයකින්වත් අපි ඒ ගැන chance එකක් ගන්න බැරි නිසා අවශ්‍ය කරන සියලු පියවර අරන් තියෙනවා. අවශ්‍ය හදිසි අවස්ථාවක් ආවොත් අවශ්‍ය කරන පහසුකම් සපයලා ඒ අවශ්‍ය රෝගීන්ට අසාත්මිකතාවයක් ආවොත් එහෙම අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු කිරීමට පහසුකම් සහිතව තමයි මේ එන්නත ලබා දෙන්නේ. ඒ නිසා මේ එන්නත ලබා ගැනීම පිළිබඳව මොනම ආකාරයකින්වත් පසුබෑමකට ලක්වීමට අවශ්‍ය වෙන්නේ නැහැ.
Now, Sri Lanka's COVID-19 immunisation drive could not have come any sooner, as the Government Medical Officers Association points out that over 100 doctors have tested positive for the virus since the second wave broke out. They say that there is potential for the Sri Lanka's health system to crack if the number of doctors treating patients dwindle owing to the virus.
Yesterday was a day of records for Sri Lanka on the pandemic front. While the country reported an all-time high of 1,869 COVID-19 recoveries, the day also saw the highest number of daily infections to date. Just yesterday alone, a total of 892 coronavirus infections were confirmed across 20 districts, topping the previous record of 887 cases recorded on the 21st of January. The Western Province meanwhile accounted for the lion's share of yesterday's cases with 543. Of these, 298 infections were confirmed in the Colombo district and 203 from the Gampar district. Further 56 cases were confirmed from Kandy, along with 42 from Kaluthara, 37 each from Ratnapura and Kurunegala, 36 from Anuradhapura, 35 from Matara and 34 from Gaul. With that, only 74 infections were detected from 11 other districts, while the remaining 40 were reported as Sri Lankan expatriates. Meanwhile, 394 COVID-19 infections have been confirmed so far today.
පහුගිය කාලය පුරාම ගත්තාම වෛද්‍යවරුන් 100කට වඩා මේ වෙන විට කොවිඩ් රෝගී ආසාදනය වෙලා තියෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඉදිරි පෙළ සෞඛ්‍ය සේවයේ යෙදෙන අය 200කට වඩා කොවිඩ් උදුරට ආසාදනයට ලක් වෙලා තියෙනවා. අද දිනය ගත්තාම සක්‍රියව රෝගය වැළඳුණු වෛද්‍යවරුන් 50කට වඩා ප්‍රතිකාර මධ්‍යස්ථානවල ප්‍රතිකාර ලැබමින් සිටිනවා. ඒත් එක්කම අපගේ සහෝදර වෛද්‍යවරයෙක් මේ අවස්ථාවේදී දැඩි සත්කාර ඒකකයේ කරාපිටිය රෝහලේ ඉතාමත් අසාධ්‍ය තත්ත්වයේ පවතිනවා. ඒ අනුව අපි දිගටම පෙන්වා දුන්න කාරණයක් තමයි සෞඛ්‍ය ධාරිතාව අපි ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න ඕනේ. සෞඛ්‍ය ධාරිතාව ආරක්ෂා කරගන්නවා කියන්නේ ඊදී වැදගත් වෙන කාරණයක් තමයි ඉදිරි පෙළ සෞඛ්‍ය සේවකයන් ආරක්ෂා කරගන්න බැරි වුණොත් රෝගීන් රෝහලට එන විට කොවිඩ් ආසාදනය වෙලා රෝගීන් රෝහලට එන විට ඒ රෝගීන්ට සත්කාර කිරීමට සෞඛ්‍ය අංශය නැති වුණොත් එතන ගැටලුවක් මතුවෙනවා. ඒ හින්දා අපි දැක්කා මේ පහුගිය මාසය තුල ඉතාමත් විශාල වශයෙන් සෞඛ්‍ය අංශය කොවිඩ් ආසාදනයට ගොදුරු වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, the country's total COVID-19 related death toll rose to 297 after 7 fatalities were recorded yesterday. Of the 7, 4 of the deceased were confirmed as residents of the Colombo district. Their cause of death were reported as an exacerbation of pre-existing complications such as hypertension, diabetes, asthma, cardiac issues as well as pneumonia resulting from the COVID-19 virus. Further, the 3 other victims reported outside of the Colombo district were reported to have succumbed to a combination of cardiac complications, diabetes, hypertension, kidney infection, septicemia, as well as pneumonia resulting from COVID-19 infection. In the meantime, the country's daily COVID-19 recoveries shot up by 963 today, hiking overall recoveries to 55,398. With that, the active COVID-19 cases currently stand at 6,285.
We will see you shortly. Bear with us. Watching First at 9. Now, a collective of port trade unions commenced work to rule action this afternoon over the proposed East Container Terminal joint venture with India's Adani Group. The project is expected to see a 49% stake of the joint venture management company being acquired by the Adani Group, with the balance 51% remaining with the Sri Lankan government. The proposed deal has, however, courted controversy, with allegations being levelled by unions that the terminal was being gifted to a foreign entity and will erode the country's sovereignty. The port trade unions today handed over a set of proposals to members of the Vietmag organisation, and later State Minister Nalaka Godeheva had delivered the document to President Gotabaya Rajapaksa. However, Ports Authority Chairman General Daya Ratnayaka accused the trade unions of jumping at shadows, as the government-appointed Project Management Committee and Negotiating Committee are still in the process of drafting recommendations to be handed over to the government next week.
Sri Lanka Ports Authority Chairman, retired General Daya Ratnayaka, says that he welcomes the work to rule action by ports trade unions, as it would eliminate a lot of unnecessary malpractice and corruption if workers carried out their duties to the letter.
About the ECT issue, there is a government-appointed project committee and negotiating committee. We are now in the process of developing the proposal to the government, and we have not come to a conclusion yet. And this final report will be handed over to the government probably next week. Once the report is handed over, people can see where we are heading. And now it is too early for people to come and protest here. And without knowing what the government is going to do, the project proposal committee or the cabinet appointed negotiating committee, what we are going to propose, without knowing, people are still, especially the trade union, getting panic. So I have educated trade union in the morning today. So I hope they will really understand it, and those responsible trade unions will do the right thing without going into a trade union action. I was told that the trade union is trying to work according to the rule or to the letter, and that's very good. And if you are working according to the letter, that is what we are requiring, and we have not been doing this for last so many 72 years in this country. As a result, we are at this position here. If we are to develop this country, we have to work according to the government regulations, according to the rule. That is what I mean by work according to the rules and regulations. If we do according to the rules and regulations to the letter, basically we will do the right things. Without, we all know, a lot of people say that there are malpractices happening, that things are not properly happening. If we work according to the guidelines given, definitely we will be able to come into a proper position as far as the Port Authority is concerned. So I like if people are working according to the letter, according to the rule, then no malpractices, no wrongdoing, no unwanted payments, no unwanted issues that we are facing today. Definitely, without those things, if a trade union can work, that will be a new trend set for the country. They can do that.
Now, Chairman of the Committee on Public Enterprises, Professor Charita Herath, says that Sri Lanka cricket has been summoned before the committee on the 11th of February. Now, in the meantime, the National Child Protection Authority has been called before the COPE on the 12th of February, where the special audit report on the National Child Protection Authority relating to child abuse in Sri Lanka will be taken up for discussion. Meanwhile, the project of resettlement of families living in high-risk landslide zones in the district of Kandy of the Central Province is scheduled for the 24th of February. COPE Chairman Professor Charita Herath added that the environmental audit report on the plastic importing, management of usage and post-usage in Sri Lanka is scheduled to be taken up on the 26th of February. Vehicular movement around the Independence Square in Colombo will be restricted from the 30th of January until the 4th of February. Now, rehearsals for the Independence Day are set to be conducted from the 30th until the 3rd of next month, and the National Day of Independence celebrations will take place on the 4th of February at the Independence Square. Accordingly, the vehicular movement will be limited around Independence Square, Independence Avenue and other connecting roads from 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. during rehearsals. On the day of the Independence, the vehicular movement restrictions will apply from 4 a.m. to 1 p.m. Police officers have been assigned to redirect traffic to alternative roads. The police said that road signs have been put in place to assist the motorists to find alternative routes. Vehicles moving to Nelumpokna roundabout from Boralla will have to be redirected to Horton Place and then to Ward Place via Vijayaram Road. However, vehicular movement on Bauddhaloka Mautha will not be restricted. The Embassy of the United States in Colombo has commenced a US aid-funded project to set up health rooms in 120 schools across the country. The embassy said in a statement that the program will support the health and well-being of thousands of Sri Lankan school children by ensuring basic precautionary measures against COVID-19. Through the program, the health rooms are to be outfitted with beds, mattresses, comprehensive first aid kits, portable screens and water dispensers, and will also enable emergency isolation measures for students if required. The health rooms, which will promote the well-being of students even after the COVID-19 pandemic ends, have been set up in Jaffna, Kilinochchi, Mullaitivu, Vavuniya, Trincomalee, Batticaloa, Ampara, Anuradhapura, Kandy, Monaragala and Gampaha districts. The project is part of more than $6 million in COVID-19 assistance provided to Sri Lanka by the United States. We will see you soon. Stay with us. Now, a trading halt was imposed on the Colombo stock market just past midday today following a technical failure of a broker back office system which was brought to the attention of the Colombo Stock Exchange. In a media communique, the CSE stated that the broker back office system are operated by independent systems vendors who provide these directly to stockbroking firms. It added that although the failure did not impact the operating systems of the CSE itself, it affected the ability of 14 brokers to access the stock market, impacting all of their investor clients. The CSE added that the trading halt was imposed in order to ensure that a fair and orderly market was maintained, where a substantial majority of investors operating through the broker firms have equal access to participation. Regular trading was enabled at 12:45 p.m. immediately as the system was restored and confirmed to the CSE. The CSE says that it will be calling for an immediate review of the system failure of the vendor in question, with a view of ensuring accelerated remediation of the causes that led to today's incident. Now, Sri Lankan shares slid today after notching a series of all-time highs in recent sessions, hurt by losses in consumer staples and industrial stocks. The benchmark all-share price index ended 1.63% lower at 8,668.07, with the index up 28% so far in 2021, among the strongest equity gains for emerging markets. Now here's Dimantha Matthew with Stock Market Update.
We saw a major plunge in the index today, with the ASPI declining by around 143 points, reversing the winning streak that was there throughout the last couple of weeks. So the ASPI during the first few minutes of trading surpassed the 8,900 mark as well for a brief period, and then the decline started to happen. So with some of the quarterly results being released in some of the retail favorite counters, we saw a major plunge in those specific counters, leading to an overall sell-off in the market. So with this, we saw retail favorite shares such as Expo Lanka, LOLC Group and its subsidiaries, Haley's Group and its subsidiaries, and Valuable One Group and its subsidiaries. All these counters having significant amount of selling pressure throughout the day, especially because these are the counters that has been on a continuous run with hefty gains.
And that's it from all of us here at First at 9. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.